Welcome to Far Out's Existential Boozer, a Proustian pint with Charlie Steen from Shame, and this week we talk all things life and death over a cold pint at the Rose and Crown in Kentish Town, London. This is Proust's questionnaire that we're going to get stuck into now.
Yeah, of course.
And it's pretty existential, hence the name.
Standard Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, it's the sort of stuff people do, believe it or not, do talk about over a pint.
Yeah, but I think it's a good idea to do this over a pint. Later on, we'll take the same questionnaire onto the show. And see how different.
Send us in some content you film yourself.
Quite
different. But I think there's the first question being a band called Shame and having done your wall of shame. This one could be a good question for someone like you, and that is, what is the idea of perfect happiness?
I think a warm feeling in your stomach of like desire and hunger, you know, like I think it's just sort of when you feel truly lost in excitement and desire and you don't know, there's no sort of like direction or sort of it's not sort of explainable, it's just sort of it's purely based on feeling. It's sort of like same thing when we play live, like the best moments is when you're just acting on instinct and you're not thinking, and it's sort of meditative but chaotic, you know. So I think, you know, that sort of thing, getting lost in excitement and pleasure and that feeling of sort of like a youthful feeling, you know, that's it. Yeah.
What about your biggest fear?
Failure.
What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
My stubbornness.
Creatively or in life?
In every aspect, I think, yeah.
What trait do you most deplore in others?
Hypocrisy.
And which living person do you most admire?
Yeah, the living person is tricky. I often think about lots of people, but I guess in terms of like people who've inspired and influenced me, and who I can't really doubt their genius in terms of someone who's alive, would probably be Dylan. Bob Dylan, yeah.
Lyrically, sonically, everything.
Lyrically, and also, you know, like what else he did in his time. It was like just also like more than music as well. You know, what he inspired and what he spoke about, and you know, like politically and stuff like that, and socially, it was, you know, I think you just can't really touch him. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite Dylan song? Changes all the time.
Yeah, I think if I was to say the one that first made me realise was Masters of War when I was like 9 years old. So what jumped to my head, that probably wouldn't be my favourite now, but in terms of if I listened to that still reminds me of the first time it like clicked, you know.
What is your greatest extravagance?
I like to spend money on records, on vinyl. I just bought, it was my dad's 60th birthday, and I bought him this quite expensive Elvis records, Aloha from Hawaii, and there's only 2,500 copies made. So that, I think that's a little bit extravagant, yeah. It's not, I'm sort of still wearing the same thing I bought 5 years ago, you know.
What is your current state of mind?
Sort of confusion.
What do you consider to be the most overrated virtue?
Beauty, but in the sort of stereotypical sense.
The Love Island sense, we could maybe call it.
Yeah, you could call it the Love Island sense, yeah.
On what occasion do you lie?
When I desperately want something to be true.
What do you most dislike about your appearance?
My torso and my teeth.
And then I've heard you talk about when you were discussing the band name Shame, and that came from a point of view sort of accepting a insecurity within yourself. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, embracing insecurities, you know, sort of, I guess, yeah. Like a lot of the people, musicians and stuff like that, and even artists, like Keith Haring, for example, just sort of seeing, you know, going back to beauty or whatever, like seeing these people who sort of weren't afraid to be outcasts, you know, and sort of a lot of that comes from insecurities and what you see as flaws, whether it's physical or what you're passionate about, and I think that's a beautiful thing to embrace, yeah.
What is the quality you most like in a person?
Passion.
What word or phrases do you most overuse?
In it.
What or who is the greatest love of your life?
My girlfriend Zoe.
And then when and where are you happiest? You spoke about the idea of perfect happiness, but when and where is that?
When I'm sort of almost doing nothing with my girlfriend, you know, whether it's just sort of like when you've woken up and you're lying in bed and you're just chatting, or when we're performing live.
What talent would you most like to have?
I would like to be good at languages.
You do a pretty good job.
I'm trying. I've been trying for a long fucking time. Me and my girlfriend's Brazilian, so I've been trying fucking to learn Brazilian Portuguese.
Yeah.
I wish I could get it.
Could you tell us a little bit about how that came about on that song?
Yeah, so that song's called Lampião, and I was over in Sao Paulo with my girlfriend's parents, and they were basically, to sort of summarise it, told me about Lampião, who was this sort of cowboy character in the backlands in Brazil in the 20th century, and I had never heard who he was, and he's very culturally important in Brazil. You know, there's songs the song I'm singing at the beginning is written by a person called Volta Seca, who was a kid when he was 11 years old when he joined Lampião's gang. They were bandits, and he was illiterate, and he wrote two songs that still sang to this day in Brazil, Mulher Rendeira and A Cor de Maria Bonita. And so at the time I was really interested in paradoxes, and he was kind of perfect for that, you know, in terms of this sort of like backland bandit who also did interviews and had his photo taken, and some people hate him, some people love him. And then the thing that I was interested in the time of sort of age of information, how someone who's so known in a country that's pretty much the size of the continent of Europe can be completely unknown in other places. And to hear about something orally, again, you know, learn something in that way, I just found really interesting.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
If I could actually change something physically, I'm blind as a bat.
Right.
I would like to, I'm really fucking blind. I wear big, thick glasses and I wear contacts now, but I would love to be able to see properly, you know. I've never woken up and opened my eyes and seen, so I would love
really?
to. Yeah, everything is just a complete blur.
Yeah.
So I would love that, yeah.
Do you reckon that taps into your creativity a bit? Because what one sense is taken away?
It's definitely kind of fun if you're drunk or whatever, if you're in the bath, like looking at a candle, like whoa, you know. But like, yeah, I think I'd like that at some point.
Yeah. What would you say is your greatest achievement in life?
The band.
If you were to die and come back as a person or thing, what would it be?
I don't think I'd like to come back as an animal, even though we're animals. I'd definitely like to come back as a person. I think I would like to have come back and be myself, but so that the band was about in the 90s and we could have actually made money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean...
So, like, come back, you know, 20 or 30 years earlier,
yeah,
you know?
Pre-social media, all of that.
Yeah, when people were buying records and, yeah.
Yeah. Where would you most like to live?
I love London, but if I was to live anywhere else, it would be Sao Paulo.
What is your most treasured possession?
My record collection and my book collection.
What do you regard as the lowest depth of misery?
Ennui, probably.
What is your favourite occupation?
I love writing.
This is going to be an interesting one for you because we've mentioned Dylan, but I feel like you're going to have a whole host of other people who could be the answer for this. But who are your favourite writers?
I love Iris Murdoch, James Baldwin, Oscar Wilde. I love Steinbeck, Dylan, obviously, and Bowie and Marquis Smith, and you know, there's a whole host of people. I love a woman called Catherine Alfrey. I only know the one book, but it's beautiful. Yeah, I think maybe those.
Do you feel like you, do you feel
and sorry, one more. The American writer whose name I'm going to forget actually. Fuck. I'm just gonna have to forget it.
What would you? Do you have a confidence in your sense of writing, having fed?
No.
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 No. Why is that? Why not?
Because I don't know. I think, you know, going back to that thing of happiness or whatever, and then I think it's like there's something in being quite uncomfortable, you know, and quite, you know, I think it's, what was that? I can't remember who said it, but some writer said, you know, a writer needs two things, inexperience and arrogance. And I think there's that thing where you're kind of fighting your insecurities, but, you know, so yeah, I don't feel super secure. I like some things we've written or whatever, but, you know, I think that's been the more challenge. We're talking about people singing back songs or whatever. I feel like that's something to aim for. But the greatest thing I always think is like layman terms, which, I mean, like some of my favourite lyricists would be like Lou Reed, who's very just can say it all in one sentence. But then another thing of like Bowie, you know, that line, you got your mother in a well because she's not sure if you're a boy or a girl. And I still think that is like two sentences that you could spend hours thinking about.
Yeah.
And years. I've thought about that all my life, so yeah.
Who is your greatest hero of fiction?
Of fiction?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, going back to Catherine Alfrey, that writer, to know if she'd be my hero, but she wrote a book called On a Dolphin's Back, which is a children's book about this like poor girl on an island in Greece, discovers a dolphin, and the dolphin shows her all around these Greek mythology. The dolphin will come from like Poseidon struck down these sailors, and they all turned into dolphins. So that little girl in that's pretty cool. But I don't know, someone like, who's my greatest hero in fiction? I don't know. All the films and fiction I tend to like aren't sort of on good characters. I really like a book called The Moon and Sixpence, but I'm probably going to butcher the name. Morn, I think it is. And there's a character in that who is despicable, but there's his sense of passion is something you can admire.
What historical figure do you most relate to?
None.
Well, who are your heroes in real life?
Who are my heroes in real life? I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be the sort of the obvious ones. Like, you know, they could say like Rosa Parks and people who really stood up for something incredible. But I mean, I guess there would be musically, I think growing up, there'd be like Keith Haring, I really love. Just sort of as a person, you know, because I remember seeing a kid and identifying with him quite a bit. But Marquis Smith, maybe, from a lot of sides of like, I respect the fact that he sort of never wavered from something so unique and what he achieved, you know. And I've been listening to a lot of The Fall recently, but I don't think he's a very good person. But but in that sense of passion and drive and his lyrics as well, yeah, it's pretty amazing, yeah.
This next one is one I was itching to ask you all day because it's a Cutthroat-inspired Proust question. Mm-hmm. How is it you would like to die?
Yeah, it is quite cutthroat. I mean, it was funny, I was at my mate's yesterday and he had loads of crucifixes up on the wall, and that kind of, with the album, it was like, I grew up Catholic and it's the same, you know, I go back and stay in my childhood room and I've got the crucifix on the wall, and I always think about, my mum always used to say, you know, I might die tomorrow, and da-da-da-da. It's like very, very in touch of death. So, I think I would like to die, I would more like to die sort of happy. I think I'd like to die somewhere hot, potentially.
Did like Catholicism influence Cutthroat?
Yeah. Well, it's that whole, I mean, in Spartak, it comes from that line, cast the first stone, in the Bible. But yeah, in terms of how you view death and stuff like that, you know, I think there's a big thing of like, you know, a lot of Catholic, my granddad's funeral went on for 3 days. Right. Just a massive party and that sort of celebration of life and just sort of being like, it can go at any second, and instead of that being a fear, that being a strength, you know. So that side of it, obviously if you are properly Catholic, you have the full belief, but I'm a few generations down from sort of like you know, there's more questioning of what it means now.
Yeah. What is your motto?
Why not?
And then last question, one for the road. What is your favourite Shame song? Proust himself wants to know this.
I really love Angie, and I love Quiet Life. And I do really like Lampiel, so free.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers,
Appreciate
mate.
your
Thank you
time.
so much for having me.